Warning, the following video is rated BH. Any fanboy at risk of BH should exit the video and seek medical attention immediately. Viewer discretion is advised. Your feature presentation will begin in 3, 2, 1, meow. Hey, this is Zero at ReviewZoneHD, and here we go, my final video for 2013 on this channel. I reviewed around 60 games this year, and I even have a few games on this list that I didn't cover or review on this channel, but this is a video that I do every year, and every year I say the same thing at the start of the video, and every year some of my viewers kind of have a hard time accepting it. This is not a best of 2013 list. This is my top 20 favorite games with an emphasis on my for 2013. These are the games that I enjoyed playing this year, not as a reviewer, but as a gamer. Last year my favorite game was The Amazing Spider-Man. This year's top pick I think is going to be a lot less controversial, but I do have some pretty unique and interesting choices this time, including the first ever sports game to hit my top 20 list. I also had a couple handheld games make the list this year, which had previously not happened before. So without further delay, let's go ahead and jump right into it. This was one of, if not the only, first-person style RPG that I can ever remember actually enjoying to play. So to say it's probably my favorite first-person style RPG is a pretty safe bet. I usually don't dig the Doom-style dungeon-crawling RPGs that have you clip-clopping your way down long, boring tunnels, but this game had enough deep strategy elements to make it a blast to play. The fact that every member in your party eventually unlocks the use of a sub-job, which in turn allowed all sorts of different party setups, kept me coming back and playing this one long after the review was done. The sharp and colorful graphics on the 3DS also didn't hurt either. This ain't your grandmama's Tomb Raider anymore, and this is actually one of my wife's favorite franchises. She's always been a big Tomb Raider fan. She's played all the games. She enjoyed this one, and the developers made some very interesting changes that worked really well for a newer, updated version of Lara Croft. While it did feel like it was catered a bit to be more mainstream, it was also a dramatic and emotional adventure which provided some pretty intense gameplay at times. And for somebody like me that wasn't really huge on the old games, I actually really enjoyed this one, so I think they took it in the right direction. I am a huge fanboy of the Hitman franchise, and in last year's top 20 countdown, Hitman Absolution was my second favorite game last year, and I'm sure I enjoyed this re-release a lot more than most other gamers out there, but it was really cool revisiting a couple games that I hadn't played in a long time. And even though I don't do a lot of trophy hunting anymore, it was really cool to have some added incentives while playing through a couple of my favorite stealth games ever made. In 2011, the Marvel table expansions were good enough to make the number 4 spot in my top 20 list. In 2012, the Plants vs. Zombies table expansion was good enough to get Zen Pinball 2 back on the list for the 16th spot. And once again, Zen Studios puts out not one but 2 very awesome Star Wars table expansions that keeps me coming back and playing this game 2 years later. This is the one title that I purchase every add-on without any hesitation, and is still my go-to game when I want to wind down at the end of a long day. I've played this game more in the last 3 weeks than any other title. I may not be rich in real life, but I sure know how to save up and blow $500 million on a baseball game. That's right, boys and girls, I spent the summer wheeling and dealing my way to creating the ultimate online baseball team empire. And for somebody that has absolutely no interest whatsoever in watching baseball on TV, I sure did have a lot of fun playing this game, and the Diamond Dynasty mode in particular, for a couple months this year. I did enjoy the original Dragon's Dogma quite a bit, but this expansion addressed some of the problems and the hang-ups that I had with the original, like having to walk your way across the game world to go anywhere, which took forever sometimes, and it also sucked some of the fun out of playing it for me. They added an infinite use fast travel stone this time, along with a slew of new enemies, and that was all I needed to know to sit back down with a game that I had already spent a lot of time playing the year before. Love it or hate it, the Call of Duty franchise continues to put out a quality shooter every year. You can thumb this video down, you can thumb the review down, but it does not deny the fact that this is a good game. It's mindless, it's repetitive, but this year's squad mode was reason enough for me to continue playing it long after the review was done. I really like the size of the maps for the online modes, and they made an effort with this release to cut down on the camper-friendly safe zones, and they added a few new game modes that kept the action at a reasonably fast pace. No corner Wookiee complaints or jokes for me this year. What's this? A Vita game actually made a top 20 of anything list? Did Zero fall out of his rocking chair in his dark basement and smack his head on a pile of cats? No. This game is pure and utterly awesome. This was the first time that I've ever taken my Vita over to a friend's house or gone up to my wife and said, hey, watch this. I challenge anybody to play through this game without cracking a smile at some point. The mariachi band that plays Eye of the Tiger at the end of one of the game worlds just did it for me. That was a gaming moment that will forever be etched in my brain. I love this little game so much that I may eventually go pick it up and play the PlayStation 3 version. I almost feel bad that I didn't review this one on the channel because it's such an awesome game. You know, at the time when I first played this game, I thought it was the best thing since sliced bread, but as time has moved on with newer releases, I kind of forgot about this one and just didn't have that same staying power as some of the other games that are lower on this list. However, it's still one of the best games that I played this year. I enjoyed my time with it, and I saw several comments from my subscribers saying it was their favorite game this year, but it's not a game that I would want to revisit next year. Had I not done the 0 vs. 6 tournaments on my other channel, this game might not have even made this list, but doing the player versus player battles was a lot of fun regardless of who I was playing against, and this is a game that I think the mature audience might overlook this year. It's an expensive hobby, but either way I had a good time with it, and it's a game that I could recommend especially if you have somebody to play it with. And this is where the BH logo originated from. I created it just for that review because I was catching a lot of flack over some of the things that I said about this game during my coverage for it, even though I stand by it and it was all true, especially when I mentioned the Pokemon stuff. But it was a great game and I said a lot of positive things about it, and it's a title that I'd like to go back and play some more one day. It's a great RPG regardless of how old you are, but it's not going to be for everybody. I cover a lot of different role-playing games on this channel, but the DISGAEA titles have always been my favorite franchise from the NIS published RPGs. They're tedious and they're grind-heavy, but if you enjoy the combat and you enjoy micromanaging, then you can drop well over 100 hours in every one of these titles and not even realize it. I've done that several times myself, and with this year's title I think they took a lot of steps in the right direction to make this game not only fun for veterans like myself, but it's also a good one to start off with if you're new to the series. This was the final review that I did this year, and I was able to take a really big sigh of relief after the first few hours were over with, because there was a point during that first week of playing that I was beginning to question if I was even going to enjoy playing this game at all, because it does start off really rough. But once I was 10 hours in, it was all smooth sailing from that point on, pun intended, and that was all she wrote on signing this one off as a really great game and one that I'd like to continue playing next year. Have I lost my mind? Grand Theft Auto 5 is only in the number 7 spot? How could that be possible? It's the greatest game ever made. No, but in all seriousness, I really did enjoy this game. I was a bit worried going into it because the last one didn't really win me over. I thought the 4th entry was okay, but I just wasn't raving about it. This one, on the other hand, is in a league of its own. It's a fantastic game to play by yourself, and it's a great game online, especially once they got the bugs worked out. I imagine it's going to be a lot of people's favorite game this year, but it is holding the number 7 spot for me. If you lined up Ni no Kuni, Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen, and Dragon's Crown and asked me which one do I want to play the most, I'm going to take Dragon's Crown every time. It's a simple game, but yet it's deep enough with its level up system and equipment to keep me coming back for more. I beat the game, I kept playing it, I beat it again, I kept playing it some more, and I even spent many nights playing it on the Vita. I love how the online works, and overall it's just a really great game. If they do make a Dragon's Crown 2, I'll certainly be standing in line at midnight for it. From the outside looking in, or for somebody visiting my channel for the first time, it may seem a bit odd that I enjoy Disney Infinity so much, but this is quite possibly the best family-oriented game that I've ever played. My 4-year-old son enjoys watching it, my wife enjoys playing it, and I enjoy playing it. However, the reason that it got the number 5 spot over so many other really great games is solely because of the custom toy box mode that allows me to go in there and build some pretty sweet and creative racetracks similar to what's seen in Mod Nation Racers. If you're looking to build and race, this game is pretty epic. How could it be possible that a game released over 10 years ago could be on a 2013 top 20 list, you might ask? Well, because of the new Seekers expansion that released earlier this year, which added a couple new jobs, a huge new area, and a whole lot of very wicked gear. This is the game that I just keep coming back to year after year, and it's where I'm going to be when I finally take some time off in January. The population on my Phoenix server is slowly but surely dying as most people have moved on to the next generation of Final Fantasy Online or other MMOs. Call me old school, call me stubborn, either way, I'm still going to be puttering around with my Blue Mage on here. It's one of my all-time favorite games, and the new expansion was just icing on the already sweet cake. This really was the sleeper hit of the year, and in my opinion probably one of the most overlooked and underrated games that's released probably in the last 2 or 3 years because of the timing of when it hit the store shelf. But man, is this game good. If you enjoy stealth games, it's by far leaps and bounds better than any Splinter Cell before it, and I played through the same missions on here over and over again, each time using different equipment, different strategies, just to test out what I could do. I absolutely love this game playing single player or with a friend. I'll continue playing it next year. I didn't think any fighting game would ever top my love for Marvel vs. Capcom 3 because I like Street Fighter and I like Marvel, but this game took that one and just laughed at it. I spent a solid month playing this when it released, when I really should have been working on other things, but I just could not put this game down. It takes a little bit of time to get used to the flow of combat, and I hated the original demo that they put out there so much that I wasn't even going to buy this game, but I'm really glad that I did because it turned out to be a really great fighting game. This was also one of the very few games that I enjoyed playing competitively online this year once I got accustomed to it. It also features the Flash, which is one of my favorite superheroes, and he usually doesn't get a lot of love when it comes to video games. If you're subscribed to this channel and you've been paying attention to my videos this year, I don't think this is going to be too much of a shock to you, but this is going to be my favorite game for 2013, and it's a game that if you played it all the way through and you paid attention to the story and actually got attached to the characters, then it may end up being a game that you're going to remember forever. And I did mention that it was one of my all-time favorite games ever made in the book that I wrote over the summer, which this game had released around that same time, and it was kind of hard for me to figure out where it actually ranked in that list because it was such a new and fresh game. But looking back now that all this time's passed, it's still going to be one of my favorite games ever made. I did do a vote here on the channel shortly after Grand Theft Auto 5 released, and I asked my viewers which game did they enjoy more, and as of this recording there was 345 votes for The Last of Us and 149 for Grand Theft Auto, so that was pretty much a 2-to-1 victory for this game. And if you look really closely at where I paused the video right here, I had already made my choice long before this video was put together. There was 291 comments on that video and not one person saw that flash across the screen for that split second. I guess I kind of snuck that in there. Anyways, you guys have been really awesome to hang out with this year, and I hope you have a really good Christmas. Even if you don't agree with the games on this list that I enjoyed playing, hopefully most of you will still be able to respect the fact that this is my top 20 for 2013. Hope you enjoyed this year on the channel. This is Zero to Back Down at ReviewZoneHD, and as always, thanks for stopping by.